IVM.
Hey, you nerds, if you're listening to this show, then you're a fan of the things we do. And one of the things we do is an annual Halloween party called Super Scary Awesome. We dress up, there's an all-star band that plays music, and a grand time is had by all. So this year, the all-star band, featuring guests who you will recognize and love, is going to be playing TV show theme songs. Everyone's going to be wearing costumes. You can win a prize for best costume. And there's going to be games like Halloween Pong. It's going to be a pretty ridiculous night. I would encourage you to turn up October 30th above the Habitat. You can get your tickets on Insider, and you can follow us on @GeekFruitHQ on all the social medias for more updates.
Everybody, welcome to a special episode of the Geek Fruit Podcast.
They're all special episodes to me, man.
Of course, that's why I started with that.
Okay.
Dinkar, hi, how's it going?
It's going well. How's it going with you?
Great. We have so many things to do this season.
Yeah, it's a busy season.
It's a busy season.
Yeah.
May I say?
I have to deliver Christmas presents on December 24th.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I
do this.
Do you have I feel like your beard is beginning.
I am growing out my beard, and I've been putting on some weight. That's true, but
Yeah.
I'm wearing a bright red suit. Hopefully, that
Do you
distracts from it.
Do you use Evernote for like your like naughty? Sorry. Okay. Listen, man, Dinkar, we have a guest in the
No, I
studio.
write it all
Behave
down.
yourself.
Do you wonder why you've never gotten a gift, Tejas, on Christmas?
I don't know. I keep looking
Nothing
at my-
down your chimney. Does that sound vulgar? That's
First
a
of all,
little
you
vulgar.
said chimney.
Chimney. Yeah.
So maybe
Chimney
that's probably
cricket.
what. And second of all, wait, man, we have a guest. Let's behave.
Yeah, okay, cool.
But
cool.
maybe you don't have to. It's Kunal Rao.
Hey, what's
Kunal Rao,
up?
thank you for
Thank
being
you.
here once again.
For having me be here.
I know, after that shit you pulled at Geek Food Cantina, what the
Wow, so you
okay.
really know how to hold a grudge, man.
This
Nobody
is
forgets
you
that
really know
one.
how to hold a grudge.
This is an ambush, basically. I'm not the one doing the ambushing.
All right. Tell me, how's your thought? Have you changed your mind yet?
No, because you know it's one of those movies that you don't want to watch again.
Okay, now here's the thing.
Some backstory, since this is from 2 years ago.
Was
and
it 2
you're
years
still-
ago?
No, it
Yeah.
wasn't 2 years.
It was
like
2 years
a year.
ago.
It was a
A year
year.
and a
Yeah,
half.
it was not this. This year we had Ankit Dayal and Naveen on
That
the...
means it's 2 years ago, right?
Whoa.
2018, so last year.
Oh, like a year and a half, yes.
It was 2 events ago.
Two
We're in
events ago.
October,
Yes.
and
Fair
that
enough.
was in
But
like
yes,
April.
to give context to this decades-old grudge as far as I'm concerned, Kunal Rao does not like The Last Jedi. In this, he's wrong, but I'm okay with
Oh,
it.
I'm wrong about my own feelings.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
amazing.
No, as in like your opinion is
Search
wrong.
your
My
Search
opinion
them.
is wrong.
Yes, it
I
is.
didn't realize that opinions are facts now.
Hey, you know
they
what?
can be
One
right or
second.
wrong. That's amazing.
Allow me to...
I understand
to
why geek fruit
paraphrase-
is more fruit and less geek.
That's
all
fine,
right?
yeah. That's why we're all here. Listen, Roger Ebert said this one thing. I mean, I paraphrase heavily, but he
He said
basically
video
said...
games are not art.
That's what he said.
He said that also.
Well, he's an idiot. What does
Exactly.
he know?
So,
But here's my thing. And
mind you,
Scorsese-
that was his opinion, and he was wrong. I love the guy.
But
he
you know
was
what?
wrong.
You know what he did say? He said, like, some people think that going for movies is like, oh, cool. I like this movie, it's good, or I don't like this movie, it's bad. And some people think, oh, just because other people don't like this movie doesn't make it bad. He's like, those people are wrong. Some movies are objectively bad. And that's fine. I mean, beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah.
Kunal Rao, you're here because you have something to offer to the world in terms of video.
Yes, actually, I have my own content that I have created.
You've created content?
Oh,
I've
Lord.
created content.
You're a
it's,
content creator.
I'm a content creator. I have created...
Putting more of this out in the world. It's like the conversation with people are having about babies. There are enough babies in the world. Adopt a content.
Right now, you're not allowing me to create content on this podcast.
Go. Create content.
My content is called Done because I'm done creating content.
Is that it then?
Yeah. It's Amazon Prime stand-up special that's coming out on 18th.
Congratulations,
I think
man,
will it be
by the
out?
way.
Will this be out by then? This will be out by then. Yeah, it's out. It's out now.
Oh, is
my
it?
God.
This will be
Yes,
out by
it
then?
is.
Yes,
Yes.
it is. Yeah,
Fantastic.
18th
It's great.
of
I saw it.
October. You did see it. You were there
I saw
live on the
it. Yeah,
front
yeah.
row, and
This is
we
true.
made sure that there were no cameras on you because they said
Yeah,
only 20
Kunal,
people.
learn how to f***ing accept a compliment. Take the W, man.
Thank you so much. I'm very bad at that.
I told him on Twitter, I was like, I tagged Janam. Both of us went, our ex-podcast producer Janam, we both went for this show. Very graciously, we were
Very
given...
sweet, you're really
No,
nice.
I was saying you gave us the opportunity to see it. It was difficult to get passes to that show, but then I know Kunal Rao. So, we went for it, and we were made to sit in the front. And somebody told us...
Made to sit in the front?
Yeah, because we were good looking.
You were talking in the back?
No, there was a
This
height.
happens.
There was a height
There was a height
conversation
problem.
happening.
Oh, there was a height problem. I thought it was because we're good looking, but yeah, we sat in the front, and it was great, and it was really, really special. And I tagged Janam saying, "Oh my God, it's happening! The special's coming out." And she was just like, "Oh my God, it's happening!" And Kunal's like, "Hey, listen, you're not on the show. I'm just telling you now, you're on the show."
I was just
"We're
being like, it's okay, you don't have to
We're
worry
just
about it."
excited to see the product of what you have.
You know,
put in
I'm just not used to
effort.
that emotion.
You
of
should
people being
get
excited
used to
for
it,
me.
you know, because come 18th,
This
or I mean
really-
now.
Yeah, it's out. Yeah.
You're not used to accepting compliments.
I'm not used to compliments, and therefore accepting them is very hard.
This
That's not
remind-
true. Come on.
There's a
It's true,
story
I'm
of mine that actually happened about Kunal. It's an amazing story.
Does he? Was it about the last
Do
Jedi?
I know?
No. It's a friend of mine. He went to a therapist and he was basically telling him, like, "Doctor, I have so many problems. I can't feel joy anymore. I'm not happy anymore." And the doctor was like, "You should watch Kunal Rao's new special. It's called Done." And my friend was like, "Doctor, I am Kunal Rao."
What is this going
What,
on?
you don't know
Do you not know
Pagliacci?
the story?
Huh?
Pagliacci?
This is a
No.
famous, this is the parable of Pagliacci the clown.
Oh, freaking hell! Of course it is.
But also this actually happened.
This also happened.
Of course it did. Of course it did.
Hey, tell me something, Kunal Rao. What nonsense! You're not I'm sure you are. I'm sure you get compliments. You are a well-respected, highly
Okay, so,
appraised comedian in the circuit of India. Now, let me tell you one more thing. You have a sizable following. Don't they parade you with like comments every time you have a show? Don't they say? Don't you get a message saying, "Kunal, that was a great show. Thank you so much." I did that to you.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you so much.
I
Okay,
will-
so I want to give a caveat. There has been a growth in my personality. I finally realized.
You should get it removed.
I was thinking the same thing. That I have
you did
learned
not
to,
say it. That's
I
why
have
you're the better
learned to
comedian.
understand, but I didn't say it.
You know, sometimes it's too difficult. Okay,
Also,
I'm sorry.
speed clearly is more important than accuracy. So like I've grown a little bit. I've learned to accept who I am, and I think I'm finally figured out that okay, it's better to just be gracious about compliments and just move on rather than doing this self-criticism and this whole what's it called?
Self-deprecation?
Deprecative
Self-deprecation.
comedy.
I think
So I
it's
kind of moved
important
out,
to do
and
that.
I've kind of changed. I've sort of evolved out of it, and I think that's nice.
But do you think you lose your powers when you start accepting compliments?
No, I don't. I've learned how to just genuinely listen and see what's a genuine compliment. Like, okay,
Yeah.
to give you a great example, like after the show,
Yeah.
all right, when which you were there for the live
Right.
recording, I had like a handful of people who came up to me, and including you and Janam,
Yeah.
saying like, really loved it. I can see some, and as a person, I saw the authenticity in your voice and in your eyes, etc. A couple of Saurabh Kanwar is another one who was like, dude,
Yeah.
I can't believe the growth in your comedy. It's
Yeah,
fantastic,
it's true.
genuinely. But I had like about 5 or 6 other comedians who were at the show, and before the show they were like, oh my god, I'm so excited, I'm so curious,
Yeah.
a lot of people are saying it's great and this, that I want to see.
Right.
And when they came at the end of the show, they were like, hey Kunal, good show man, thanks, see
That's
you,
the
bye.
highest compliment.
Right?
That's a
No,
good
dude,
compliment,
but
isn't it?
it's the authenticity, right, which is just
Okay, no.
it's that oh, I know, good show, and like, yeah, whatever they had to say, and then
No, but I
just
think the
kinda get out.
highest compliment is a comedian not being able to just watching
Exactly.
another. Not, yeah, you
That's
know,
a really good
I'll
point.
tell you why that happens to me a lot. Sometimes I go and I watch a show and I'm just like, man, I'm like, damn it, like that was
Yeah.
so good. I hate
I
how
see
good
what
it
you mean.
was.
Maybe
You
that
know?
was it. I never thought
That's
about
probably
it.
Yeah, that's probably
never
it.
thought about it.
I mean, like, because you'll find that like people who know, it's like if I go for Dinkar comes for my show.
Yeah.
It's like we're not gonna at the end of the show go like, oh man, dude, we're gonna be like, nice,
Bro,
you
that
know,
was good stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
it's fine.
business
Yeah,
as
yeah.
usual. We're good, but like sometimes they're like, man.
That was so good that I hate
So
you
I
for
hate
it. Kind
it.
of,
Yeah,
that's
sometimes
great.
like man, like
I never
we
thought
go
of
for
it that
shows.
way.
Blackstat, my god. Every time we go watch, and we missed the last one that just happened. But like every time I was just like, shit, so much to do left. You know,
Yeah,
like,
in life, yeah.
yeah. So
No,
anyway.
I'm gonna take this up as a I need to change this about myself and say that, you know what, let's just assume that it's a good thing coming to me.
Hey,
rather
Kunal,
than
you're one of the better ones. That's why you're on this show.
Ah, thanks.
All right.
Only
Twice.
the finest comedians
Only the
for Geek
finest,
Food.
only the most honorable ones
Yeah.
are on this show. All right.
Not on Amazon Prime.
Hey. Yeah. No,
Yeah,
are you?
18th.
18th.
Yeah.
18th.
18th
Everybody.
October. I think it's out. It's out now
out,
when
yes.
this goes out. It's out.
It's out.
It's out now, guys. That's
It's
what
out
it is.
now. We're just remembering the date
Yes.
when it
When
came out.
released, yeah.
18th
Midnight on 18th morning.
It was the night of
It was the night.
3 days ago.
All right. So, Kunal,
Yes.
you're here to talk to us about a thing that you love.
I love sitcoms.
But before we get into it,
Situational comedies, you
a
say.
situation comedy.
we usually ask a question saying that what is your nerd cred? Like, what is the nerdiest thing you're most proud of? That's the first question. The second thing is, what would you pack in an apocalypse?
Wow.
I'm going to ask one question at a time.
You could have given me time to
Give us
prepare.
a geometry question.
So my nerdiness is in the fact that I'm a chartered accountant and I used to love numbers. Like there was a day on an idle Sunday afternoon when I was 13, I was reading like an encyclopedia on mathematics.
Nice.
And my dad and my sister walked in like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "I'm reading a book." It's like, "You're reading mathematics? You're 13. Don't
That's
you get
awesome.
enough of that at school?" So that was like my nerdiness at that time because I used to love the way maths is it's
Maths
the
is great.
perfect science.
I wish I
right?
understood it, but it's great.
It's brilliant, and
Yeah,
I found that there was that beauty in maths that I really enjoyed. I'm like, oh my god, these equations, they work so beautifully. How does that happen? How does that happen? My mind was blown. That's
Nice.
my nerdiness, right?
Cool.
But with things like television shows and movies and stuff, that I love them. I love any show that moves me.
Yeah.
But I never really get around to doing it. So to give you an example, I watched the whole Breaking Bad season in a month, like 2 years after it was released. The whole
Yeah,
show.
yeah,
sorry,
the
2
whole
years
show after, yeah.
I watched Harry Potter back to back, like 3 years after the last one was released.
Right.
It was just I'm gonna sit and binge. I'm gonna sit and
You
binge.
did the same thing for Star Wars as well.
I did
Remember
the
you
same for
telling us?
Star
Yeah.
Wars. I did the same for. What else did I say? The Pirates of the Caribbean. Because they were like movies that I want to
Kunal,
see.
some you can skip.
But I'm just saying, I like this stuff, but I just never get around to it. I think I'm surrounded by, I come from a family of overachievers, right? So they're all like doctors and MBAs and stuff like that. So I never got around to
Stand-up
watch this stuff.
specials and out.
Yeah, I know.
The
Now
black
you're
sheep,
Freaking
yeah.
overachievers.
Tell us
The
this one
white
thing.
sheep of the family.
Is it because you I mean sometimes I don't want to watch a thing. Like a great example of this is Game of Thrones, right? Like I was
That also I binge-watched like 3 years
Society
after.
pressured me into doing it because I
Ditto.
know I didn't want to ruin the endings because apparently they're very powerful and they
Right.
were in the show. I mean, barring obviously inexcusable last season, I think the rest of the show was quite fantastic.
Sure.
And so to not have that ruined for me, I was just like, okay, cool. I'm just gonna watch it with everybody. But I did hate that. I hate the pressure of watching it
Yes.
and then seeing a spoiler, and we all hate spoilers, and then just like that just ruins what could have been like a classical feeling, like seeing somebody
discover a show for themselves. It's a
brilliant.
big one. That happened to me
It's
with
awesome.
Daredevil,
Yeah.
the TV show.
Did you see all of it?
I've seen all of.
Oh my God.
No! Only season 1.
Damn it!
Halfway through season 2, hated Elektra's character.
Dude, season
and
3
I just switched off.
is the best season.
I'm sorry,
I was
I'm
thinking
just
about it today in the auto rickshaw coming here, man. Okay, watch it. We'll talk about this.
Yeah, I will. I'll get around
Yeah.
it. But when I sort of discovered Daredevil on my own, and I was
Lovely.
like, oh my god, this is fantastic. I even love the title track. I was like, oh, title track is so good.
So good. 4 notes. 4 notes.
Exactly.
Amazing.
So that pleasure, I feel like a lot of people who encourage you to watch a show or a movie, they just take that away from you. Like, okay, another great example. Okay, I watched. A friend of mine said, "Come for me with the movie for a movie," and I was like, "Okay, which movie?" He said, "Doesn't matter, just come. It's going to be a good movie."
Nice.
I went there and it's Jim Carrey on screen, and I'm like, "What is this movie?" Oh, it's called The Truman Show. Okay, I have no idea. I've not looked at any reviews or any trailers or nothing. I just watched the movie, and with every passing scene, my mind was just blowing. It was
What a
just
unique film,
boom,
right?
boom,
Yeah.
boom, and the sort of affection that I have for that film is purely because the movie was just thrown at me without any backstory.
It's
and
brilliant, yeah.
It's almost like you feel like it's yours. Like
Also way ahead of its time.
Way
Like,
ahead.
amazing.
Well,
movie.
1 year later, Ed TV happened, which is
No, but
True.
in the sense that I mean,
another twin
it's
film. Huh?
A twin film.
twin
That's true.
film,
but not released in the same year, guys.
I'm not sure. We'll have to find out.
Let's find out. But
Was Ed TV Ron Howard? It was, right?
it was.
Yeah, it was Ron Howard who made it. Weird, huh?
I just know Matthew McConaughey was the
Yeah, he
was
there.
the titular Ed.
the lead
Oh,
actor.
not TV. okay, 1 second. So you're here. We're here to talk about. Wait, you didn't tell us what you were packing in your bag.
I didn't. I don't know.
Then we'll take a break and then we'll start the show.
What would you have during the apocalypse?
In an apocalypse.
Yeah.
In an
No,
apocalypse.
supposing there's a huge explosion, you don't
For
know what
one,
the
I will-
apocalypse is. You don't know what's the undead.
So,
you don't know
wait,
what's aliens.
have I planned this in advance, or is this something that I need to do in last minute?
This is your go
like,
bag.
This is your go bag.
Your
Yeah,
go bag is
precisely.
already in
Go
it.
bag. I like it.
That's
Geek food merch coming up. Go bag.
It's empty.
I really don't know. Apart from like basics of survival, you mean?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not.
Typically, obviously, like there's food and like
What would you
rations
think
and
that
stuff.
would help you out in a? In
Well,
an
if you're
apocalypse?
packing food, what food are you packing?
Yeah, canned goods.
This is I really haven't thought about.
My God,
okay.
Kunal, you're gonna be screwed in an apocalypse.
Yeah, because it's not happening.
Dead in a apocalypse.
It's gonna be Tejas and I sitting around going like, man,
Man,
remember Kunal? He was a
we
good one.
planned so hard for
Oh,
that.
I know what it is. I have been
let's watch
preparing
it.
for the apocalypse all my life by making friends with you guys. I'm going to be like, hey, where are they? Just
We're not gonna save you.
That's what you think, then.
Say it. Say you like the Last Jedi. Yes. Okay, come with us. It's fine. All right.
We're gonna be sitting around going like, man, Kunal was such a good guy. Let's watch a special in memory.
I know one thing's for sure. I'm going to carry a lot of books.
Okay, nice.
That's basically it.
Weigh you down.
I read the obvious stuff I haven't thought of. Like
That was the
canned
answer.
stuff.
Yes,
And,
all
yeah,
right.
it's books.
Then,
And the first book that I'll probably get is How to Survive,
Survive in
dude, you would
Apocalypse.
make a great undead special also, like a stand-up special, but like by a zombie guy, it's just like who's like, I'm done. Would work. I mean, I don't know if he's a pirate or is he?
It's kind of a zombie special because it's all about what's in his head.
zombie.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Right? Yeah, takes a minute. All right, we're gonna take a break and come back and talk about sitcoms.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to another awesome week on the IVM Podcast Network. If you're not following us on social media, please make sure you do. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. I also kind of wanted to make a couple of other announcements, right? So first, as I think I mentioned last week, I just want to kind of reiterate, we're going to be closing our SoundCloud channel at the end of this month. So if this is where you're hearing us, please maybe try and listen to us on something else, maybe the IBM Podcast app, maybe another app. We're on all kinds of different platforms. The other thing is a little happier, right? So for the first time ever in Asia, we have a podcasting award for shows made in Asia. And we're very happy to announce that a number of our shows have been nominated. Pesa Vesa, Tech Careers in the New, Varta Lab, and Junior One have all been nominated for these awards. Please go to the website asianpodcastawards.com and go vote for our shows. Come on, make us win, guys. On Cyrus Says this week, check out the episode we did with the cast of The Upstarts, the new Netflix series. On the Empowering series, Zarina is joined by stand-up comedian Shrija Chaturvedi. On this episode, Shrija talks about her journey as a stand-up comedian, the way she perceives her struggles, and what makes her feel the most empowered. You thought Simplified were done with celebrating their 150th episode? Not even close. Chuck, Naren, and Shriketh are back with the third part of their 150th episode. Make sure to tune in to see if your questions are featured. On KBCD, Farhad and Sunetru talk about the evolution through college life and their experiences that changed them forever. This week on Boundless, Natasha reads the poem calling out all aunties who pressurize us to be a certain way and shares her idea of a charming prince. On Golgappa, host Trupti is joined by actor and contestant on Big Boss Marathi, Neha Shitole. She talks about her experience in the Big Boss house and the politics in it. On Feeding 10 Billion, Ramya and Varun talk to food historian Kurush Dalal. They delve into the history of our food and how it dictates our future. On Agla Station Adulthood, Ayushi and Ritasha talk about celebrating girlhood on Girl Child Day. Together they talk about the situation of women and girls in the country and how important it is for them to have powerful role models, a sense of freedom, and the ability to exercise agency. On The Habit Coach, Ashton talks about daydreaming and how one must engineer their imagination. With that, let's get you onto your show.
Hey, we're back. We're talking about sitcoms with Kunal Rao.
Yeah!
All right. When I was a kid, I thought sitcoms were called that because you sit down and watch it.
Yeah, it's the opposite of
dude, that's
stand-up
damn
comedy. You see,
interesting.
stand-up comedy, sitcom.
But it's not.
It's
Yeah.
not. It's a situational comedy.
Yes. I didn't know that
It's
until way
situation,
later
yeah.
on.
Although I find it really odd. Like, do you guys think like Modern Family is a sitcom?
I think it all is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it still qualifies.
I mean, it's a loose
So, like,
definition
there
as
was
time
this
has
whole-
gone on.
Everything is a sitcom, man. That way. My life is a fucking sitcom.
Dude, I was so the I was
That was a laugh track.
Thanks.
when I that's the important thing. That's my question about Modern Family, because there's a whole conversation about sitcoms need to have a laugh track, right? And that's changed.
But that
ever since
multi-cam
multi-cam
2000
format
happened.
has kind of gone out of vogue.
I was
Yeah.
watching this awesome Vox video on like the sitcom and how it was started, how the format we know was done by the same guy who was a cinematographer of Metropolis,
Yeah.
and all those classic,
Nice.
film noir things in the 20s, 30s. So basically, he left all that big dynamic contrast between shadow and light to do sitcoms. Carl Freund, if I'm not mistaken, that was his name.
Okay.
He did it because this was the ultimate challenge for him. He made Metropolis.
Because it's the exact opposite of what he does normally?
Yeah, and I think
wow.
he was just like, how do I make 3 cameras take in light the exact same way and block them and still be able to move them around? And for those 2 things, he obviously created a massive light rig for every so
That's
basically it's
amazing.
evenly lit everywhere. And the second thing he did was he made the dolly essentially, like he
invented it in a sense?
Like I think he
Or
was
the track or whatever?
Yeah, I think he invented it for some of his films and he just brought it into this thing. And then he made I Love Lucy and he put out this thing saying, this was a challenge that needed my skills. And that's why. So that guy who made those insanely dark, really like very moving films in cinema made the sitcom.
Wow, that's
And
amazing.
that's the kind of equalizing thing that we need in the industry right now. It's great. I love it. Yeah, it's just like, one guy can make sitcoms and can make Metropolis.
Yeah, I think people accept that people have dimensions to them and there are different, like, there are different things that you can
100%,
do.
yeah,
like,
yeah.
a filmmaker can do like 100 things. And
Or like be a Childish Gambino style guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Do everything.
Yeah. Or even as a comedian, or as a comedian, you can do comedy. And
you can do a quiz. You can,
tomorrow do a quiz.
yeah.
You can do a freaking poetry night. Go for
So
a
that's
spoken
what we're
word
doing
and blah
next,
blah. And
Kunal?
I'm doing that.
Yeah, exactly,
I've got a bunch of poems that I want to tweak a little bit before I start reading them out. But I enjoy poetry without the poetry voice. You know what I'm saying?
What's your poetry voice? Give it to me.
It's just like I'm talking.
You're doing
now.
it right now?
This is it.
This is poetry?
Oh, it's quite literally spoken word
It's
poetry.
literally spoken word.
All poetry when read out.
When read out is spoken poetry. Yeah.
You'll find.
Is it spoken word poetry? Because they're just like, I'm not writing
it,
this shit down. It's terrible.
Sometimes it sounds like that's not been written.
Can we shorten that to Spopo?
Spopo.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. How has that never
what
been
it
a thing?
is.
That's amazing.
It
it's
might
like
be.
It's
maybe.
creating content all the time.
Sitcom, Spopo.
Spopo. Check it.
What are the first sitcom you ever saw?
Probably Seinfeld, maybe.
Yeah?
Yeah, probably. I used to watch that with my mother. She loves Seinfeld, and we just ended up watching Seinfeld.
When did Seinfeld come out? Seinfeld, yeah. Was it 96 or was it earlier?
No, 89 is when the first.
Yeah.
89? Wow.
89 and 90, it was in early 90s.
And it's also one of the shows which has probably the highest number of like reruns or re-syndication kind of things. So it was like literally available anywhere you want to watch Seinfeld, you can. And now I think Netflix is paying some 100 million.
Wait, how old were you when you saw that?
When I was in school, so yeah.
Oh.
I'm sure you did as well. Seinfeld in school?
Seinfeld and Mad About You, I think, were the first 2 I watched. Fat Lady.
Yeah.
Mad About You.
Mad About
Yeah,
You.
yeah.
Great
Great.
sitcom.
Great.
John Reiser or something like his name was.
Paul Reiser.
Paul Reiser. Paul Reiser.
Yeah.
Oh, but I think there
And
was
Helen Hunt.
just
And
to
Helen
Helen Hunt.
Hunt, yeah.
Love Helen Hunt. No, I think
I used to watch a lot of those old British
the British
sitcoms.
ones. I was
Yeah,
just gonna
like
say that, like Faulty Towers and stuff. Yeah.
Allo and
Allo was
to the
great.
Marabon.
Yeah.
I think the one that
Those were the first ones you watched?
I mean, well, actually, the show that my dad was obsessed with is Yes Minster.
Yes,
And
yes, Prime
Great
Minister.
show.
Which became Yes Prime Minister in his
Ah,
final
nice,
season
nice,
because he was a
nice.
minister for the first
Oh,
3
he's a
seasons.
Tantri Mantri situation.
And he became the Prime Minister. Is it? Is that what? Is that
Tantri
the
became-
comparison?
Tantri
I don't know.
Mantri is
Tantri finally
currently
became
king.
the king, man.
Yeah.
Oh, is it? Oh, I didn't know that. I
He's
did
in
not
season
finish.
8 of
of Tinkle Comics.
of Tinkle, yeah.
Yeah, so I watched it, but I was too young because I didn't understand what is so funny about a man sitting at his desk and somebody's trying to manipulate him. I don't understand this. His own like assistant or secretary is manipulating, and I watched Yes Minister last year. Like I watched the first season, I binged through it because it was so gripping and it's still so relevant.
It's still
I was like,
good,
I
right?
can't believe that it's such a beautifully written show.
That's because they still have a monarchy. And
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
That probably makes
it's
sense.
still
No, but it's that government sort of thing that the way governments function and the way these offices function and bureaucrats function.
Yeah, bureaucrats,
It was just it's still relevant. But I never really got into it. I think honestly the first show that I was like obsessed with was Friends. Bizarrely, because I was
that like
in school or whatever.
It was almost like coming of age kind of thing for us.
Watching Friends?
I don't know.
Yeah,
wasn't it? But
It's
I remember my mother saying.
I was 14 when I watched it.
Yeah, but my mother didn't allow me to watch it in the beginning. She
really?
was just like, Tejas, you can't watch Friends. It's all about sex
And
it's all about sex. And now my mother's like, oh, I love Friends. I'm just like, yo.
I think in fact it became more about sex towards the end of the show, and in the start it was beautifully clean, man.
Yeah, it was quite clean.
It was
Friends
very
was clean? No, it
But the
wasn't.
first, yeah, it was. It
No,
was
man.
pretty.
I think,
like,
I think it became a little more...
Isn't the pilot already about...
She's leaving her husband at the altar.
Yes, but also Monica hooks up with this dude who, if I remember correctly, there was this big controversy because she sleeps with this guy, Monica, on the first date because he says he's never been able to sleep with anyone since his wife
with the
died.
watch, right? Yeah, the guy.
right. No, he says that he can't get it up or something.
Yeah,
Right,
and
I'm
then
sorry,
she
I've
finds
forgotten
yeah.
it.
And so she
It
hooks
could
up
be
with him
right.
on the first date, and there was this controversy over like, wow, that's a really
I
loose
don't-
woman to portray on TV.
Interesting.
I don't think that was a pilot.
Was
I
it
don't
not?
think
It
that
was
I don't
very
think- it
early
doesn't
on
sound
for
like
sure.
it doesn't sound like a
Because
pilot, but-
I distinctly remember that being one of the only times you saw Monica at work until much later because like this all comes out in a conversation at the kitchen that she's
Yeah,
sous
that
chefing
was
at.
definitely later.
Yeah.
Because that was not the
I
first
know, I think
pilot
it was...
episode.
Maybe it was...
It
the
was
The
in
first
the
pilot
first
episode was
season
just the
for
coffee
sure.
shop and home. Yeah, first
yeah.
season probably.
But I do agree with you in the sense that it becomes a lot more like modern.
Raunchy.
Yeah,
you know, with the
raunchy,
stripper and blah blah blah
Yeah,
towards
yeah.
8, 9, 10. I think yeah, it just grew up like society, at least in America or whatever. It was still 6 white people in a show.
For the first few years, it used to air right after Seinfeld. Is this correct? Or right before Seinfeld?
I mean, you're saying the States? Like,
in
that's
the
how
States, yes.
because they were contemporaries, right?
They were
Like,
contemporaries,
yeah.
and so Seinfeld opened up a lot of those doors, right? Like by talking about masturbation on TV, which had
Yeah.
like never been done with the contest.
Oh, really? That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
And like, I
Dude,
mean,
Seinfeld, I don't think people understand
don't know.
how revolutionary it was in terms of...
there's an entire
Yeah,
episode
yeah.
of Seinfeld which is all about Elaine uses a thing called the sponge for
Yeah,
birth
yeah,
control,
yeah.
and they discontinue it, which is something that actually happened in
Yeah,
America
yeah.
at the point.
Wow, okay.
Where the FDA or whatever said we can't
Right.
use sponges anymore. They're probably not effective and they're not good for you. But she loves the sponge. Because so she goes around town buying up
Yeah.
the entire
Stock,
entire stock she can find of the
Oh,
sponge.
that's interesting.
And from that point on, like sponge-worthy becomes a term where she's like basically like, I like this guy, but is he sponge-worthy? Because
Right.
I know I have a finite supply.
Dude,
Yeah,
I for some reason I just never got into Seinfeld. I
Really?
don't know why. I just don't like. I do like his stand-up, and I
Yeah.
just don't understand the show. Like,
I
just
think you
don't
know what
work
it
for
is.
me.
You know, it's like all the awkwardisms that happen between young people today.
Yeah.
Like, oh, should I call this guy? Should I wait 3 days? Blah blah blah. Or, like
Yeah.
those kinds of conversations.
situations.
Yeah, those began in Seinfeld. Like, I don't think anybody was doing like just urban weirdisms, like a character like George Costanza,
Yeah.
who is essentially like the Larry David character in that show
Yeah,
before
yeah,
Curb.
It's true.
for sure.
Is such a unique take, like his own anxieties and stuff. I don't think it was depicted as well, or at least if it ever had been before. And because they had like these really pretty much unlikable characters. I mean, that we like
Yeah,
them,
they're
but
all
they're all
unlikable,
terrible
yeah.
folks, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, and they get there, and you know what the last
Redemption at the end.
You know what? No, they don't get redemption. You know what the last episode is?
No, I barely watched the
Oh.
show, so no, obviously.
Yeah.
You don't know what happens in the end of Seinfeld?
I really don't.
It's
I
not a
honestly
spoiler,
don't.
It's not a
but
spoiler.
basically they all
They all
end
go
up
to
in
jail.
jail. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They all go to jail.
Quite literally for being terrible people.
For being terrible people across the like 8 to 10
Oh, that's
seasons,
hilarious.
like
Yeah.
everything that they've done, shitty things that they've done to people, bites them in the ass in this long court case that happens. And that's the end of the show, which is, I mean, it's stupid, but it's really funny.
Somebody was
But
telling
yeah,
me
that's
something very
probably why
interesting about-
Seinfeld was like so
Yeah,
relevant.
no. So somebody was telling me also that the very interesting thing about Seinfeld is that if you notice the characters, they never learn.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
that's probably why like the final episode of the final season is as relevant to the characters in episode
Yeah.
1 of season 1 as it is to.
they're
so
very
it's not
flat
like-
characters.
it was
very
a-
status
and
quo
that was
kind
the
of.
point of it.
Yeah.
This
that
was
is
actually
unusual.
it was a spoken rule that Larry David and Jerry Seinfeld
Yeah.
decided on when they started writing the show. They were like, no hugging, no learning.
Yeah.
No
on
hugging,
this
no
show.
learning.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
More
what it
so
is.
than the show about nothing,
The
which
show
kind
about-
of
this is
became
more,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's called the show about nothing because they keep resetting back to the status quo, like at the end of every episode. It's like Homer Simpson never learning or Bart staying the same
like,
age.
what
honestly,
they became
it's like they
famous
never-
for
A
is-
show about nothing sounds like just I didn't have an answer and so I just said, "What's it about?" It's about
that
it's
was
nothing.
kind of so like
Yeah.
there is a plot line, and how the term show about nothing became public knowledge and became a common way to refer to the show is because there's a plot line somewhere around season 5 or 6 where Seinfeld and George go in to pitch a sitcom
Yeah,
to
yeah.
Oh, okay.
NBC, and the guys are like, "What's the show about?" And George is like, "What if it was a show about nothing?" And the network executives are basically just like, what? What do you mean?
Oh, really?
And-
That's in the show. So they
do a pilot
it's
and
super
everything.
meta kind of
Super
vibe,
meta, yeah.
and which Curb does as well. Like,
Yeah.
Curb
That's
goes
true.
particularly meta when around season 9 they do a Seinfeld reunion episode inside
I've
Curb Your
funny enough
Enthusiasm.
seen that
You've seen
particular
Curb?
episode.
Have you seen
that
Curb Your
episode.
Enthusiasm?
Again, not my scene.
So again,
It's essentially Seinfeld, but it's
yeah.
reality show style.
now,
Yeah.
but now George is the main character. Like that's it.
You know, so there's this thing. There is this one emotion that I cannot handle when I'm watching television, and that is embarrassment. And this whole awkwardness, and it is something that Curb does so strongly.
Amazing,
and it's
yeah.
that the whole show collapses for me because I can't watch it. I put myself in
But
his
it does
shoes.
it lighter than
It
few
does,
others. Like
but
Louis
yeah.
did it like
As-
really hard.
I can't watch Louis.
Yeah,
it's
hard
just
to
too
watch.
hard. It's
Yeah.
just, and so at the time in the 90s, like Seinfeld and Curb were kind of in that zone, right, of being really awkward. And I can't watch that emotion happen.
Wow, that's so
I would
interesting.
It's a very, and I
Yeah.
noticed this only, like I realized this about a few months ago. And I was like, what is the kind of, why do I watch a certain kind of shows and not another? And like, I don't like that awkwardness. I don't like that. I don't like that.
It's
like,
a
I can
very uncomfortable
It's
feeling
very-
for sure.
it's
I mean,
very
by
bizarre.
design,
I don't
right?
sense it as much in Seinfeld and Curb, but like the UK Office, for example,
Oh, man,
is just
hard.
like
Oh,
the
yeah,
most
yeah.
painfully cringy stuff.
Confession, I really
Yeah.
haven't seen The Office much
Oh,
either. I've
nice.
seen UK Office, yes, but not too much of the, like a couple of episodes here and there.
Part of the reason I like the
Gone
US Office a lot more than the UK Office is they start out with the same template of the boss is this like cringy, terrible
Yeah,
asshole
yeah.
of a guy, but they slowly like purely because of the fact that Steve
Steve
Carell was
Carell was
playing
doing
him,
it, yeah.
they
They
started
evolved him.
realizing about like 7-8 episodes and they're like he's not really an
He-
asshole.
an empathetic
So he becomes
guy.
like an
Yeah, it
empathetic,
changed
more
a
of a
little bit,
loser
yeah.
I
than
mean,
a
I think
dick.
it happens also to Ricky Gervais's character. I mean, like later on,
Somewhat
even
towards
with the
the end.
spin-off film, On the Road
Oh,
with
yeah,
David
I
Brent,
forgot
which is
about
great. But I feel like, as someone who used to swear by the UK Office, and I was like, yo, I'm never going to watch the US Office, and I saw it, and it
It's-
surpasses the...
And now you're a big
the-
fan of the Indian Office.
You swear by the UK Office?
I used to, yeah.
Dude, fist bump, bro.
Yeah. I mean, no, I'm saying I was one of those guys. Then I started watching the US Office, and I get why people think, and it does surpass the original.
Yeah.
I think eventually it does. Yeah, I like
eventually.
the UK Office as well, but part of the
I
reason
think it
I'm not the biggest fan
definitely
is the cringe.
surpasses the UK Office. It definitely does.
Yeah. I mean, just
Yeah.
by virtue of also having more time with the characters and evolving,
Yeah, for
adding
sure,
more
yeah.
people. Like they have like Ryan, man. Like it's
Yeah.
one simple
Yeah.
character who is just like so weird and different, makes that show
Yeah.
like a lot more. unique.
I think also like
Yeah.
have you seen the show episodes? Right, you've seen
Yes,
episodes.
Episodes
There's one
is
whole-
such a great show.
There's this one conversation that he has with the writers saying that look, you need to understand you're bringing a show from UK to there. You used to have like 6 episodes there. We have 24 episodes. You need to invest in the characters. And I'm
Yeah.
like, this is exactly why The Office US did so much
Yeah.
better than The Office UK, because at some point they sort of just let the characters just
Exactly.
be themselves, and
Yeah,
it just
yeah.
like it wrote itself kind of a
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
And I think that's like really interesting how, for me, that's what makes sitcoms interesting, because to a certain extent the characters don't change, just like what do you say,
like a Simpsons or something like that.
like
Yeah.
a Simpsons, like a Seinfeld, like to a large
So
extent
you're
the
saying
Friends.
you like the idea that they don't evolve.
Yeah, or that they evolve very little and in small doses, enough
think-
for the audience to grow with you.
Right.
Do you know what I'm
So do
saying?
you think that's what makes actually a sitcom, and like other shows like New Girl and all aren't really like that? Like, aren't... I mean, they are situational comedies.
Yeah.
Like all of them kind of come under the same category. But like the original understanding of a
I don't-
sitcom is this insular world in which the characters are just there for the
kind of the
laughs.
key,
and
right?
then,
Like
yeah.
I feel like what kind of makes a sitcom special to most people, and there are exceptions like Seinfeld maybe, is the fact that you like the people in it. It's
Yeah.
essentially like, it's a
comfort
hangout
food,
thing.
yeah.
It's
It
comfort
is
food. You're like,
comfort
I want to hang out
food.
with these people. I like the insular little world
Yeah,
they've created,
yeah.
and I'd like to be a part of that.
Yeah.
Which is why like Central Perk style cafes are a thing.
Yeah, man. My God, it's a real thing.
But
Yeah.
I still need the laugh track, man. I
need
need
a
the fucking laugh track. Like when, like somewhere around like early 2000s, like suddenly sitcoms was sort of dying, right? Like Friends was fading.
The classic, the
2004,
three
3 cam
2001.
thing now it became a single
yeah,
cam.
and then you had like Modern Family, then you had 30 Rock, then you had like
So good.
It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and these are all shows that are crazy. Like 30 Rock and It's Always Sunny, those characters are freaking bizarre and mad, but there's no laugh track. And it's just I can't enjoy it.
What? You don't like 30
You
Rock?
don't enjoy 30
No,
Rock?
I do,
My
but I
favorite
can't.
show.
For
One of my
me,
favorite shows.
I think it has to do with like what do I want in my brain before I go to bed.
Yeah.
And I think I just like the sound of that
Fair
laughter
enough.
that kind of goes.
Is that
rather
one of
than
those
me having
things-
to pull it out of it.
I know so many people who do this, which like put on Friends and go to sleep. Like,
Hell yeah,
so
I used to do
many
it all the
people
time.
do that.
Yeah.
It's
so
like,
often.
it's kind of weird.
I do
but
believe
I get it.
you're not alone in. So I love a lot of single cam sitcoms, but that feeling of I would like to sit along with people is much stronger in multicam formats, and that is coming back. That's why Friends is like so popular suddenly
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
It's seeing
Yeah,
a
it is.
resurgence.
The show that I'm watching right now, which is nailing that three kind of camera thing.
Three-way?
Yeah, whatever. You know, like the three camera.
That's the other
style.
show you're watching.
Three-way. Oh God. No, but it's this show called One
Don't
Day
watch
at a Time.
3-Way, by the way. It's all about sex.
It's all about sex. That means my mother's watching it. Okay. Is this a show called One Day at a Time? Have you seen it on Netflix?
Oh, Dot. They
Dot.
cancelled it, no?
No. So
Then they've brought it
they
back now,
uncancelled
yes.
it
They
because
are.
of popular demand.
Is that a word uncancelled? Is that like unfriend? Is that a word that you
It's
just
like
it's
pre-porn.
uncancelled,
It's
uncancelled
back.
culture, bro.
Pre-porn is now part of the English dictionary.
As is
Also-
uncancelled
as
going
is
to be.
uncancelled.
Dude,
Okay.
uncancelled culture is a thing, dude.
Really?
Yeah, I went for a comedy show. People were there. Anyway, so the thing about this show is that it takes that original kind of style, but you know, it's like a really progressive story setup, right? Like it's about this this Hispanic family, and it's a single mom taking care of, and she used to be in the army. She was like an ex-vet and then an ex-army person, and her husband has left her and the family because he's still there, and
Oh, okay.
they're not making it work out. But whatever. But it's funny. But it's like this sitcom will make you like cry because
Yeah.
it's so emotional and it's really powerful, and it's talking about things that are very relevant, obviously like immigration, and it's because there's this Hispanic family, and you know, and they're having all these issues with money and you know the government. But it's brilliant. It's like really, really powerful emotion and very warm, and but still has that original.
While still being funny.
Yeah,
right?
that original, like, you know, like not Brady Bunch, like, you know, like those old school, like, kind of sitcom, like 80s sitcoms vibe, you know? Like,
Yeah.
it has that very,
I
you know,
think
as a through line.
in the last like 10 years or so, I think writers have been almost forced to go a slightly darker or deeper route because everything that's superficial has been done.
Yeah.
Right from like the 70s to now, everything's been done.
But I think it's also a good way to tackle some of the issues. Like, a lot of reasons why people watch sitcoms is because it's a break away from reality,
Yes,
you know?
exactly.
But if you could do it in such a way that you can tastefully, like, tell people about the issues of the world or whatever it is
yeah.
through the medium of this, that's such an empowering way, you know, to get people involved.
There's definitely a way to do both,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
sitcoms right from the start have done this. Like you'd remember when there'd be like a very special episode of type things.
Yeah,
like
that's
Fresh
true.
Prince of Bel-Air,
Fresh
for
Prince,
example.
my God.
dude.
There's that episode
With
where
Viv, yeah.
Will's dad comes back and
Comes
then
back and
decides to
decides
leave
to
him.
leave him, yeah.
And it's
Hard.
just like, the laugh track stops. It's just like Will Smith is sobbing in his uncle's arms at the end of it, and you're like, what
happened?
just
I did
happened?
not ask for this.
And
But
yeah,
these
like
are
a show like
moments,
One Day
like,
at a
it'll be-
Time
it'll-
is
yeah.
now that's threaded
That's
into the narrative.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But it's still great. Like,
It's still- I'm
they
sure it
will
is.
do a like emotional thing and a funny, like a joke on a dime. You know, like they'll swap really, really well. So it's nice. That
But
shows
there's room for both of those kinds of things, I feel.
Yeah.
But while
Is
we're
there- is there-
talking
is there a
about
laugh
the
track? No, there isn't.
There is.
Yeah,
there.
it's done like a classic
it's a
sitcom.
classic
So
sitcom,
in
okay.
front of a live audience and everything.
There's again, it's because it's a trend that's coming back, right? Like John Mulaney tried to do it with
Oh,
his
yeah, he
sitcom.
did.
No, which
Mulaney.
one? Yeah,
Oh,
I'm
so
not.
funny.
I saw a bit of Mulaney, but I didn't get into it.
I
as
loved
much.
it.
It was
I think I just like
really
him.
nice. Yeah.
I think I just like him. He's just
Again,
so funny.
He's
it
great. I
had
love
its
him.
issues, but it was something that easily could have lived on for a bit and become way more successful. But yeah,
Yeah.
it was a huge bomb, especially because people loved John Mulaney, like especially
Yeah.
the industry,
Yeah.
and they really expected to do well. But basically, the definition I think now of sitcoms has widened into, right, if it's not a 40-minute show, if it's a 20-minute show, it's a sitcom, right? Like that's
Is
how
that
they,
what you think it is?
That's
I mean,
how,
that's how the
so that's
industry
how the
is-
industry perceives it.
is
Like there's this
perceiving
great
it.
So
Saturday
Modern
night.
Family isn't because it's a 45-minute show.
No, it's a 20-minute show.
Modern Family
Is it?
Yeah.
40, right?
Not sure.
No, it's not.
Guys, I can't do 40 minutes.
It's
man.
a half an hour show. But basically, this is how the industry classifies it. So in the Golden Globes, Best Sitcom, like the comedy awards basically go to 20-minute shows. So Transparent, which is barely a sitcom,
Yeah.
won for
Oh,
in
God.
the comedy category. There's this great
That's so
Saturday Night
weird.
Live sketch where they basically do this parody of like a heartbreaking show where they're like, the mom has cancer, the dad died, the children are like fighting with each other. But hey, it's 20 minutes, so it's a sitcom, right?
This is like Ridley Scott accepting the award for The Martian, and he's like best musical or comedy, and he goes and he gets, so he's like, okay, fine.
Is that what he said?
Yeah, he's just like, sure, all right.
I guess we had a song in there.
Yeah, it's like, what the That's so bizarre.
What is the point? Is that like a definition of like an arty film?
No,
like
it's a dramedy. You know, it's like what like Entourage like was a dramedy.
It's another show I just didn't understand.
I did not like Entourage.
Understand it.
It felt broy from the
start. It is super broy.
Yeah.
But I just, man, it had to do
I
with
like
Hollywood.
the soundtrack, I will say.
Yeah.
Alright, cool. We're going to take a break and then let's come back and do some rapid fire stuff for something.
Oh, wow. Also, the best sitcoms of all time. Boom.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Oh, sorry.
Advertising is dead. Yep, you heard me right. Advertising is dead. We're all in the content business now. Let's not call it news, TV, radio, etc., etc. It's all content, and we're in the middle of this weirdly exciting phase where all the borders and lines that have been drawn over decades has been swept away by this lovely thing called the internet. We're a show where we don't dwell on just the stuff that is now, but rather the wider stuff about advertising, media, content, and the whole goddamn circus surrounding it. Tune in every Tuesday for our weekly unboxing of the mystery box we used to call advertising. I'm Varun Dugirala, co-founder and content chief at The Glitch, and this is my new podcast, Advertising is Dead.
Welcome back to the Geek Fruit Podcast. Quickly, Kunal, tell me what is the best sitcom of all time? Rapid fire! Okay,
what is... there has to be two answers to that kind of question, right?
One is... I wasn't going to name one.
What is the overall understanding that is the best sitcom? Mm-hmm. And then what is your personal favorite? I think there can be two answers. I don't think there's
a clear answer for either of those.
I know, I'm saying it's an opinion-based thing, but sure. Like you can say, oh, Friends is the best sitcom of all time. You're not saying it's because it's the best, quality-wise, but it's the most reaching kind of thing. It's like most
what does that matter?
Watched. I mean, what is the best picture? Best picture in an Oscars thing is the
Avatar.
most popular. Yeah, I mean, it's like most... It doesn't mean it's like the best movie.
It's not. I'm saying, let's talk about stuff we really enjoy. Like, for example, I have a very... I have a spot in my heart for sitcoms that were cancelled ahead of their time. There's been so many great ones. Mulaney is one of them.
Okay.
Cancelled mid-first season.
Mid-first season?
Yeah, I think they did 8 episodes or something, or 16 episodes, and they got canned. Basically, they never got the order for the back half of the season. But there's so many great shows like that. Like Andy Richter had a fantastic show. You remember when Andy Richter left Conan for a while?
Yeah.
And then he came back.
Yeah, I didn't see
So he was working on a show called Andy Richter Controls the Universe.
Oh, nice.
Which was a great freaking show. Like, basically, the concept was, what if Andy could control the universe? So, it was way ahead of its time in that it would have this device where he'd just pause the entire world and then go figure something out and come back and the story would continue.
Nice.
It's an incredible show.
Was this a proper, a 3-cam sitcom or a single camera?
It was a single cam sitcom. It might have been one of the very first of them, in fact, if I remember correctly.
Wow, okay.
But yeah, cancelled way ahead of its time. One of the greatest shows. I have always felt that the best Friends analog that came out later was a single cam sitcom called Happy Endings.
So good.
Right. I remember watching Happy Endings.
One of the most incredible shows I've ever
after
seen.
2 seasons.
Was it 2 seasons?
3 seasons.
It was the one with Alicia.
Amazing.
With Alicia Cuthbert.
And Coach from New Girl. From New Girl.
Yeah.
Dude, New Girl is one of my favorites. I
like
love that show. It's a show that I almost did not like the characters, all the characters universally in the first season, and the second season is one of my favorite people.
That's bizarre.
It's so weird how that happened.
I just don't like her.
Zoe?
Yeah.
She's cute.
She's the new girl, though.
I know, I just don't like her.
She's adorkable.
She's adorkable. That's true. That's the term they invented for the show.
I'm sure.
I just... No.
I have always had a soft spot for British sitcoms, and because I think I watched it at a time when I was hitting puberty. I love Coupling.
Coupling is great.
It's a great show.
The British Friends, you mean?
I have watched
everyone I spoke
you
to
mean
about
Friends
Coupling.
is the American...
No, Coupling was before before Friends. No.
Yeah, for sure.
What are you saying?
It was.
Coupling was before Friends, or what?
Yeah.
1994?
I think so,
yes.
In fact, Coupling tried to make a US version, which tanked miserably because the script was exactly the same.
Yeah.
Adapted
I remember
culture and
even
stuff like that.
the poorest remake.
Also, they had terrible actors.
was who was it in the couple?
Nobody, exactly.
Okay.
No,
but,
Forest
for
US
the-
remake of
for
a UK show?
IT Crowd, when they did it, they had Richard Iwadi reprise his role, but they did it with
Joel McHale.
Joel McHale.
Yeah.
It just
He wasn't
like,
the right
He's
fit,
not.
yes.
Yeah, Chris O'Dowd is such a character
Yeah.
actor. You can't put like a hot.
It was actually a pretty good
dude.
cast. All of those people went on to do some pretty great things.
Yeah.
In the
that's true.
British one or the American one?
The American
the
one,
American
but
one,
yeah, it just that show itself didn't work. Even though they got Richard Ayoade back,
Yeah.
and also the British humor of
Yeah.
the IT Crowd is
It's
crucial.
So
yeah,
important.
yeah, it's so
Yeah.
important to
So
the show.
important.
It's just so bizarre.
Like when they have that
The boss, what's his name?
I forget, but him, that the goth character who lives in the closet,
Yeah.
which was Noel Fielding.
Noel Fielding, yeah.
Which is just
Like,
like
it's
you
just
can't
so
pull that
many,
off in a US sitcom.
Very difficult.
yeah, it's too bizarre.
That was the other show. Remember the Noel Fielding show? What was it?
The Mighty Boosh.
The Mighty Boosh. What a
Great show.
incredibly fucking weird show, but so funny. My God.
So weird.
Yeah.
I mean,
You know, I wish I grew up in the era of the internet, so I
When
could
you could watch all
this
this?
stuff. Because
Hey.
there was what I used to watch was everything that just was thrown at me on Z Cafe.
right.
Like
Yeah.
literally, Z Cafe was way ahead of its time in terms of like. Showing like
You were watching
American
Z Cafe.
sitcoms. I was watching Z Star
That's
World
fine.
and all that stuff was not even
Dude,
close.
we
even
were
though it was, like,
watching
the biggest one. It was insane.
flipping Channel 33. It's the
That's
same.
correct, yeah.
Dude, you
No,
know.
but I mean, just like so, I like for me, like at that time, I remember when I used to come back from college at about like 3:00 or whatever, and I used to watch shows like Dave's World and Home
Dave's World.
Improvement and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And
Man,
these are
Home
all
Improvement was a
kick-ass.
standard
Was
for
a
my
great show.
And I remember,
place.
like at that time, there was almost every show was like centered around like this. It was like a family kind of a thing,
Yeah.
right? It was
It's
like
very
a
reflective
wife
of
the
what
show
the world was.
was
right?
at that
Like,
time. Yeah, especially America was at that time.
I mean, like, I don't know if you remember this, but when we were growing up, I think Star Plus was still like
Star
doing
Plus, yeah.
English,
Yes.
English, yeah.
and we
Yeah,
used to
it
watch
would
like
do a double bill of Small Wonder, and
yeah.
Small Wonder, yeah.
and Teenage Mutant
and-
Ninja Turtles.
Yes, that's right.
One
And then,
after the
and then
other.
they would have like Ninja Robots. Everything was on flipping Star Plus.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
That was
Plus
before
was
it
the-
became all Hindi, and
Yeah.
like you were saying, Channel 33, where
Channel
we
33.
grew up, used to do
And then it
stuff.
became what?
I don't remember, what is Channel 33?
It was
I
the
don't know.
local TV
The-
station.
It was
at
the
time.
Like the cable
It was
guy.
the DD of the UAE.
Oh right, you guys.
There's this
keep
one
forgetting.
particular channel that, I mean, so I was huge into sitcoms, right? Starting off of like Channel 33, which would play sitcoms every weekday at
Yeah.
like 9 p.m., which is where I started watching Mad About You and Seinfeld. Heavily censored, of course.
Yeah.
But there would be a pay channel called, it was the Paramount Comedy
Comedy
Channel.
Channel is so good.
It was 24 hours of
That
sitcoms.
was the best fucking
Holy
channel
I swear to
ever.
you, like for the longest
24
time.
hours of sitcom? Are you
Yeah.
There was
serious?
Paramount Comedy Channel.
Dude.
It was successful. They started Paramount Comedy Channel 2, which was less popular sitcoms. That's
Yeah.
where like I've seen the
Dude,
greatest stuff
Caroline
ever.
in the
No
City.
one- oh, Caroline
and
in the
like,
City.
all the classics, man. In the
There's
90s
so
classics
many
like Dharma and Greg, all that
shows.
stuff. I love
I
that.
like, man, before we got that channel, because it was a separate pay channel, and like you had to sign up for a package where it was just that and a
man.
bunch of other channels
What were
nobody
you
in my
using?
family
Orbit?
cared about.
Yeah.
Using Orbit or Showtime or
I
whatever.
think Showtime or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was under like a weird package.
Dude, why is it
I
impossible
used
to get a
to-
Showtime subscription in India?
Well, they've geolocked it now.
They've
Yeah,
completely
yeah,
geolocked it.
I believe so. But yeah,
Yes.
I used to read the listings in the
Man.
paper and just go like, man, one day I'll have this channel and I'll be happy for the rest of my
Yeah,
life.
man.
Then I got
Nice.
it.
And
And
now
I've
you-
been happy for the rest of my
Dude,
life.
now you have Romedy now.
Now I have Romedy now. And, like,
Romedy.
it would be
Yeah,
such
yeah,
weird
so
sitcoms, like, and it was a US channel, so like sitcoms that weren't even really popular, but man, learned everything I know from that.
No,
But
man.
that's the thing, man. Like,
I get
like
it, yeah.
there's like my association with television back in the day in college is just so much of happiness. It's just like I used to love coming back and just listen.
It's
to
the blinders,
this.
bro.
It's the world you're in.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
I completely agree. It's the
absolutely. I get it.
blinders. I don't deny
Yeah.
that. But
Yeah.
it just felt so nice.
No, it's
and I felt
it
it was
still
such a-
is. It still is.
It's no wonder that at least my generation, I don't know about yours, is that like at a very crucial time of our puberty, just after puberty, we would watch all these shows. No wonder, like that's our most impressionable age, right? No
Yeah.
wonder we're so obsessed with watching sort of, you know, American and British television, Western television, because that's the stuff that made us happy when we were growing up. At that
I think that
period.
was the things that we would get at that time. I mean, like, at least for us, it was weird because I remember a time when I was growing up watching, I was watching a lot of American stuff, like obviously British American stuff. But then there was also like the Ramayana and Mahabharata, which was coming from India, which also had zero context of. It was like, for us, it was like both. This is like this weird kind of...
Ramayana Sunday morning, 9 a.m. in Bombay,
Z horror show. I mean, we were talking about that just
now
before the episode. But yeah, man, I think you're right. There is something really just very comforting about it.
It's just so much. It's so like I remember. I remember I started watching Friends because of freaking Courtney Cox. Okay, I saw the trailer and I was like, oh my god, she's so gorgeous.
Yeah.
And at that time, Jennifer Aniston not so much.
Yeah, I mean, I was definitely a Monica over.
Yeah. She was gorgeous.
She's awesome.
I gotta watch the show, man. I gotta watch the show.
I mean, it's no surprise that to me also that it's like Netflix and streaming services gave you the answer to that question when you were growing up. Saying like, oh, I just want to watch everything. I just want to be able to watch everything easily. And they were like, here's everything. And people are still watching Friends. People are still going to see watching
because
Friends.
People are watching the 70s show again. It's made a huge comeback because again, it's got that like comfortable hangout dynamic.
Yeah.
And also our producer watches it.
Yeah, and it's a classic lean back content, lean in content versus lean back.
Yeah, it's you used to try to lean into comedy when you first started watching it though, right? Like
we were paying attention, but what about this?
I think like you said,
who's Rachel? Like, is she pregnant?
I mean, I used to go and
also to the television so you couldn't rewind.
Though I think like the internet being around when we started watching stuff was huge. Like other than the Paramount Comedy Channel, found a lot of stuff through the internet.
Yeah.
Even in the days of dial-up. I read Frasier was one of my favorite sitcoms.
So
show,
good,
man.
So good.
I could not. Good. Yeah, it was so good. I could not download it because the internet connection wasn't good enough. I read the scripts for the entire thing. You'd have these. Yeah. You have sites like TV script sites.
Yeah, I've heard about that.
I read the script for like 9 seasons of Frasier before I saw like 1 minute of it because I just heard it was a great sitcom. I was like, I want to watch great stuff.
Yeah.
When I started watching it, the way I'd pictured it, when David Hyde Pierce came on screen as Niles Crane, I was like. That's not what he looks like.
That's like when we saw like
that's not
Harry Potter.
I swear to you, because I used to watch Murphy Brown, and Murphy Brown had a character called Miles who used to work in the newsroom with Murphy. And I just like automatically pictured Niles Crane as looking like Miles. And then I got into watching the show and I was like, this is better. This is better than reading the thing. But still,
so when you read it, did you ever feel that you like, okay, I get the joke or I don't?
I did, I loved it. On paper, Frasier, especially because it's such a wordy sitcom.
It's a very wordy
It's great, and these are screenplays essentially. So like this.
But what
happens,
about when there's sarcasm,
happens.
when there's no sarcasm? How do you get that?
I mean, a lot of it is delivery.
You get it from inflection. Now the performance is elevated, but it was a great written sitcom as well.
Ah, that's interesting. Yeah, it's actually a very interesting. I think that's like every writer's like dream, right?
To like read the script
that's already finished, that's already funny, and then an actor adds to it.
I'm sure that's like most like every time you see like a Robert Downey Jr. like interview and they say, "Oh man, you did such a good job," and like most actors who are in that position where they've performed like a iconic role and stuff, saying, "No, it's just there in the script." There's very little improvisation when it comes down to it. Like even including the cast of Friends, I remember they would often like cite the script writers, being like just really tight and stuff. So yeah, man.
And it was nice. Like Matthew Perry wrote quite a few episodes. Actually, David Schwimmer directed a lot of episodes.
He's now consummate director. Yeah.
Did you watch Blackadder ever, Kunal?
I did.
Man, so good.
I was
not a fan.
Yeah, I mean, there was. I think I never, despite starting watching sitcoms at the time of like Allo and that kind of stuff, I never really got his slapstick humor. That was really too much for me.
That show varies a lot in terms of quality
tone
between
also,
seasons, in terms of tone as well. So like the last season, which has Hugh Laurie and Stephen Fry, and it's set during World War II, is brilliant. It's like one of the most...
It has one of the best
This is another show, by the way, that I read before I watched it.
Wow.
I know, man.
You're a genius.
Yeah, there was a time...
Why aren't you writing more scripts, man? That's what you should be
Because
doing.
I'm busy reading more. But that last season is spectacular. The first season is all just like goofball stuff.
It's very goofball.
Yeah, so when I read the first season, I was like, this isn't a very funny show. I watched it, I was like, it's not great. Season 2 is like set during medieval times when he's a courtier for the queen. But
I think that's the season I saw.
And that's not a very good season. Though there's like
I think it's
great cast.
It's all funny, man.
It's funny, but
it's
it's not the most representative of what I think Rowan Atkinson's humor really is. Though it does have a great cast. Robbie Coltrane's in there. And
So, I think this is the
Hugh
problem
Laurie's
with
there
sitcoms.
in that as well.
no, Hugh Laurie
He's
comes
the
in
prince,
3. I
right?
think.
He's like, I think he's in 3. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
probably it. When then that Elizabethan kind of
Yes.
era. I'm not sure which
But
one.
the
it is.
4th season has, there's the entire season is like really funny, and it's all dark humor because it's wartime, right? It's set during World War
Right.
II, and they're on the front lines. The finale of that show,
Oof.
it basically ends with them charging into the front lines. So
Basically
like,
to that. Like
To
the
the
conceit
death,
is Blackadder spent the entire season trying to avoid active duty, like just hang around
Yeah.
the front lines, get out of the war as soon as he
Right.
can. And he reaches a point where they have to do the charge.
Right.
So they all like just kind of suit up and
Yeah.
this
And
guy goes
done.
like, I have a great plan to get out of this. And he's like, oh, it's too late, man, to Baldric. And then they run out and the show ends.
Nice.
They're like, war, man. It kills
Yeah, yeah.
people. So it's literally it's
War, man, it kills people.
There's this little time lapse shot of the the war field that they run into. There's like a lot of explosions and stuff. Then it just all kind of fades to white and comes back to just like a green field with like flowers on it. And you're
Right.
like, that's the end of the show.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's
and
crazy.
that's that. They
But I
didn't-
feel these
when
kind
I
of
first read
specific
that
shows. When you first read that movie.
they didn't ever want to do like a reprise, like and do another season or anything.
They did a
right?
Christmas special much later, which was a
Oh,
time
I
travel
don't
one,
think
which was
I've seen
set
that.
in the present day. I think in the early 2000s or late 90s.
Yeah.
Where
Or was
Black,
that a single episode?
it was
Yeah,
it was
Christmas
that
episodes are usually just
the
the-
UK style of doing one-off Christmas
special,
specials.
yeah.
So Blackadder calls a bunch of people over for a party, and then he keeps traveling back in time and meeting famous Blackadders from back in the day.
Nice.
Oh wow, that's crazy. I feel
I
like
don't think
shows
I've seen
like
that.
this, which are so specific, like in terms of the situation of the sitcom, like it's like I feel that's the difference between like today's sitcoms and the sitcoms back then. Back then, it was so generic and it was designed to appeal to every single person out there.
That's
why we had
true.
so many like family kind of situations and so much of this friends kind
Brady
of stuff,
Bunch
which is
style.
basically
Yeah.
because they wanted as many people as possible to watch it. But now I think we're going this whole reverse thing, which is that I'm going to make this super niche.
Yeah, I mean everything is super diversified now, so I guess that's
and
people
it's
are
accessible
diverse,
to
man.
everybody. Yeah,
Highly
Yeah.
targeted content.
Yeah.
and it's so bizarre. Like that's probably why I feel like a lot of shows aren't necessarily lapped up by everybody.
Yeah.
Like I have such a very specifically
That's
odd
fine.
taste in sitcoms, and
Yeah.
I just keep thinking about it. I don't understand why don't I also like things that they just like. So I don't understand why don't I like things that they
Yeah,
like.
why don't you like the last time?
It's
I mean, you're wrong. It's okay. Listen,
You haven't read.
So tell us one thing, Kunal. Who
we
is
still
your
doing the Last Jedi?
who is your special targeted towards?
My special is targeted towards people above the age of like 30.
Okay.
Just
made it.
going through
The
midlife
money
crises. Going through midlife crises.
Going through midlife like, after 30, like you're saying, like 30, 40, everyone going through midlife crisis.
Either you're going to
Or like people above
anticipating.
30
Yeah.
and or people going through midlife
There's a
crises.
plus minus involved.
And I think there are a lot of 20-somethings who are also going through a crisis because they don't know what they're doing.
A
with their
quarter
lives.
life crisis.
Quarter life crisis.
What,
or
they're going to live till
1/3
100 or what?
life. 1/3
That's the
life
word.
crisis.
Yeah,
Yeah,
30.
1/3. Shall we do
120.
2/5?
120.
Well, if you're going to be fussy about the math, Kunal's a chartered accountant. He doesn't care.
He loves math.
I used to. And then I discovered scripts.
Oh,
But
God.
yeah, it's interesting. I'm not saying that it's a good or a bad thing, but I think that niche thing is what defines today's like sort of sitcoms as compared to then.
I mean, that's part of the reason a lot of the sitcoms I love were cancelled early. I feel like they were talking to a niche that maybe didn't exist yet.
No,
like
I think
the
it was
couple
not.
I
Well,
mentioned.
yeah, at least it was not targeted to them. It was probably because I was on a network or a channel. That
Exactly,
was
and
still,
there were
yeah.
different pressures at that point,
Yeah.
and they
Yeah.
didn't have enough of a mass audience to survive. But like,
Or they couldn't get that number. Like you wouldn't be able to target it.
That
like,
number
unless,
has now become way lesser, where it's
It
less
is,
important.
Yeah, it's less
But-
important
It is less
because
important.
you can get that kind of data because you're doing it online. You're seeing exactly what kind of like people. Everybody knows who we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our privacy is meaningless. So
Yeah. That's
Undeclared, which
Yeah.
was Judd Apatow's sitcom show after Freaks and Geeks, like dramedy type situation.
Yeah.
Again, cancelled after one season.
Oh.
The funniest people on the planet were on that show. Like literally
I think
anybody in comedy
that's
today.
I'm sure that's a badge of honor for them.
Yeah, exactly. Like
You
Freaks
think,
and Geeks.
how so?
I don't know, man. I think it's
Getting cancelled, you mean?
I mean, yeah. I
It
would say
became
that.
a
I would
cult
see that
thing later.
Exactly
but
why.
It's just like I like so many shows that as I went on, I realized why is everything I like getting cancelled? And I was like, maybe
me?
Is it me?
Am I the
Am
curse?
I responsible for Judd Apatow's career?
I'm just one person. I can't watch the show. I can't read the show like 300 times now.
There's a theory that deep down every comedian's true dream or true goal is to be ahead of their time. Like they'd rather be appreciated when they're dead than right now and make money.
What is
Screw
your
that
dream,
shit.
Kunal?
I would like to make money.
Smart man.
Well, sufficient amount of money to just so I can drive down to you guys and do a Geek Fruit podcast.
Boom.
That's
well,
that's
check
not a
that
lot of
off the
money.
list,
yeah.
yeah.
$80 a day.
All right, cool. We're gonna close. Kunal,
Yes.
give us your say 5 favorite sitcoms. I'm
that's
making it easy
nice.
for you.
That's a lot easier,
Right?
man.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. How I Met Your Mother. Completely loved the way it was done. And
Have you
just
rewatched it
characters.
of late?
I have rewatched it about a year
Do you feel like
ago.
it still holds up?
I
don't-
think it holds up
I don't think
beautifully.
it holds up.
I think it holds
but
up
I've not seen it
beautifully.
again. But I
like
mean,
it.
it started like losing its thing for me in the last maybe 3-4 seasons. Maybe the first two.
Do you
That's
like
true
how
with
it
most
ended?
season that.
Are you okay with how it ended?
Yeah.
Because
I
a lot
think
of people hated that.
I don't think it was good.
I think I expected that, and
That they
therefore
wouldn't
it
live up to what they
matches.
built up?
expected this?
Yeah.
You knew what was going to happen? You thought, did you guess like...
I mean, I because I've sort of read enough about writing and like figured this out. You know from season 1, episode 1, what the show's
that they
about.
weren't going to live up to the
That the show
world they
is
built.
not about the mother. The show is about Robin and Ted.
It's true, yeah.
That was the show. Yes, maybe
enough.
that they got together or not. I don't know. It could have just been that. Oh, we still always truly love each other. Maybe that could be
I
just
found
that.
the ending really stupid. The whole last season, because this whole last season is this wedding. That's the entire pretext for it, and it's a wedding between Barney and Robin, and it's like retconned in like maybe 20 minutes of the last episode. Which
season.
kind
No,
of
the
like
wedding.
was very, very
It
frustrating.
was not about the wedding. The
No,
wedding is the tool that they use
Yeah.
to
It's true.
Then I
introduce
watched it and
the
I was like,
mother
no,
who
this
is.
show is the tool.
Well, yeah.
And yeah, it was
No,
a
it's
spotty
The show
last
is the
season.
tool to reach that final friggin' episode.
No. The show is a tool.
It's a tool.
I will say it's about time we brought Jason Segel back, man. He's been chilling
he's
too
amazing.
long.
And this one,
Josh
Alison.
Radnor?
No, Alison
Hannigan.
I love her.
She's great. But like Jason Segel's just like he went on to
He
do
did well.
really funny, great
Yeah.
stuff. Josh Radnor went like indie and arty.
Yeah.
Yeah, what is he doing?
He directs mostly, I believe.
Oh,
He
okay.
directed a movie called Bachelor of the Arts or something like that, if I remember correctly. Okay, next
That's
sitcom.
one.
I have one. Sorry.
What?
It's
You- you
Kunal's
have one
show.
what?
Bachelor of the
Let him
Arts.
do his 5.
Sorry.
You have a Bachelor of Arts?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, you're a BA. Okay, sorry. Ugh, that
Next.
took me a second.
I have a master's.
I would stay. I
So do
can't,
I though.
I can't say no to Friends. Friends is definitely in the top 5. It's a
F dot
great
R
show.
dot E dot N
Stop,
dot D
stop,
dot S.
stop,
It's
stop.
not
F dot R dot E?
That's how they spell
You
nowadays.
read so much.
crap.
What's the point?
I skipped a letter.
Number 3, coupling, like I said earlier.
yeah.
C dot O dot P dot U dot
Oh dear Lord.
C dot O dot P. Listen.
coupling. Is that not what it
Then
is?
I would go retro and do Yes Minister.
Nice.
Hey, are you
I
only
rewatched
talking?
it.
Are you only picking shows which have that camera format and like a laughter
No,
track?
that's just what I like.
Oh,
Remember
sweet.
we talked
But
about
like
this
How
earlier.
I Met
just
Your
kinda
Mother
like
is a
that.
multicam hybrid, really, because
Yeah, it's
they
a
have so
hybrid,
many
yes, yeah.
single cam
No,
sequences.
and also was never. It was shown.
It was never. Yeah,
It was
exactly.
to an
showed on a
audience.
screen
Not-
to an
It
audience.
Because
wasn't
there's so
filmed
much
in
like
front of a studio
time
audience.
for sure.
Yeah.
travel stuff.
Yeah, and
non-linear stuff.
I
Sorry.
don't. I
Pamela
I have
Fry, the
4.
lady who directed
Yeah.
most of How I Met Your Mother, like really changed the game in most sitcom direction. She directed like pretty much any multicam sitcom that you enjoyed from that time on has been like has a Pamela Fry
Man,
episode in
I
there.
still think the How I
Her name
Met
is
Your
Pamela
Mother.
Fry.
Yeah.
Yeah, the non-linear structure of How I Met Your was probably the most appealing thing about that show. But yeah, just lost me in terms of. Check your notes, Kunal.
No, I was.
You made notes, Kunal?
No, this is for the previous show.
Yeah, no notes for us.
You made no notes for us.
I sent you guys a list of shows and I totally fucking forgot what they were.
Okay, while you remember, then
So I've got 4. Like,
Fine.
you've got 4.
Read your previous notes. So, Cyrus, what I think is.
he didn't get to say that one.
What's your name, buddy? Where's our group, man? Where's our WhatsApp group?
It's cool.
Fine,
Dinkar.
they just give me
No,
one.
I was asking you, Dinkar, go.
Oh, I'll add more to my list.
Oh,
of,
the answer is Simpsons. That's what it is.
It's classic.
Simpsons.
Simpsons.
Do you still
I don't
actively
know if
watch?
it's a sitcom or not, but yeah,
It is.
whatever.
I think it's
Fuck
totally a
sitcom.
sitcom, yeah.
Simpsons, that's the one.
Are you still actively watching?
No, it's been a while.
When did you stop?
I was in season 28
I
and a
don't
half.
remember, honestly. See, Simpsons is not one of the things that I'm like following constantly, but
Right,
when
yeah,
it's
and you
on,
don't
it's
need
on.
to.
Or when
There's
I-
nothing need.
you
There's no need to
yeah,
follow.
it's
Except
every
the
episode.
graphics or the animation
Yeah.
becomes really good.
Do you have like a
becomes good.
particularly favorite episode?
No.
Like one of my favorites is when Homer gets a gun. I forget what the
Yeah.
episode's called exactly, but yeah, it's a great episode. But basically, he gets a gun, and Marge and the rest of the family are like, "I can't believe you have a gun. You have to leave and stuff." And yeah, it's a great episode. But one of my favorite lines of all time is when like he's trying to convince Marge how he feels when he holds a gun. He's like, "Marge, when I have a gun, I feel powerful, like God when he has a gun."
Oh man!
But
Simpsons.
I remember the moment that I was like, "Oh my God, Simpsons is the best," was when the music video of the song "Do the Bartman" came out.
Oh,
Do you guys
nice.
remember that?
Yeah.
And then there was a follow-up
Played the
song,
game
I
also,
think.
man.
Was there another
Bartman.
song that they after "Do the Batman"? "Do the Bartman"?
That was Spider Pig from the Simpsons
No,
movie.
there was another Bart Simpson song.
Dude,
that I remember.
the Spider-Man. I'm saying the Simpsons movie was great, man.
It was really good.
So
Oh, it was very good,
funny.
yeah.
That also has one of my favorite lines from the show, which is Arnold Schwarzenegger is the president, and he uses like, "Mr. President, we have option 1, option 2, option 3, option 4, option 5. You have to decide what we're going to do with Springfield." And he's like, "I was elected to lead, not read." It's just the funniest shit. So funny. Oh my god.
It's the Arnold Schwarzenegger analog that they have in the show.
Yeah,
What's
yeah,
his
yeah.
name?
I don't know what he's called.
I forgot.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Ah,
Kunal,
what's it
you're
like?
4
Yes.
in, I think. You've
5, I
done,
said 5.
You said How I Met Your Mother, Friends, Copooling,
Copooling?
Simpsons,
And Yes, Minister.
and Yes, Minister. All
Nice.
right, cool.
Yeah, good list.
That's a
Yeah,
good
right?
list.
That's a
It's
great
nice
list.
and varied, and like
Very varied.
Is
Yeah.
it very? No.
It's
in a
within
Kunal
the
Rao
space
universe.
of multicam sitcoms, I'd say it covers.
Yeah,
within
yeah,
that
yeah,
space.
yeah. Nice,
Yeah.
nice. Dinks, what about you?
Uh,
Which ones have
oh.
you read that you love so much?
Oh man, so many.
Let me send you my script to the next sitcom that
Everything
I'm
that
writing.
ever played in the Paramount Comedy Channel in the early 2000s.
I'll just send you the listings. Yeah,
Shout
yeah.
out to tvscripts.com.
Yeah.
30 Rock is
Yeah, up
one
there.
I've recently been rewatching that I think still holds up as
one of
spectacular.
the. It's not even. It's for me. It's like not even one of my favorite sitcoms. It's just like one of my favorite shows. Like period.
Yeah,
It's just
exactly.
so intelligent.
Like
and
changed the game,
hilarious.
especially in
It
terms
changed
of
the
like
game. I completely
Absolutely.
It
Absurd
totally
is
changed the game.
comedy,
Yeah,
man.
yeah,
It's-
the, the
and
pace
they
of
have-
jokes that they brought in
And
is
they
still
have
like
2 sitcom episodes in the show. They
Yeah,
did
yeah,
2
yeah,
live
that's true.
shows. So
Yeah.
good. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Saturday Night Live style
Yeah,
episodes,
yeah, yeah.
basically. They broke the format a bunch of times. Like towards the end, they had like a reality show style
Yeah.
episode. They would do whatever.
What was it? The Defuan and
With, Defuan?
what's his wife? Basically,
Angie.
Tracy's
Her show. Oh, I can't remember the name.
The real something.
Yeah, it was like a real something.
No, it was
parody.
called Queen of Jordan.
Right. Of course it was.
Oh,
The
man.
sitcom that Robert Carlock and Tina Fey went on to make, Unbreakable Kimmy
Yeah,
Schmidt.
amazing.
Again,
Such a good show.
Very
She's
good
so
show.
freaking
So good.
talented,
that
man.
lady is amazing.
Dude, I was watching like an episode of, or just going through the IMDb page of The Office US. I'm like, almost every single one
Everyone
of those
has-
actors and
Yeah.
actresses has just.
They've also
shot
directed
up,
so many
man.
episodes. They've
Yeah.
written, some of them
They're
have
so
written.
good.
Amazing.
They're
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah.
Ellie Kemper was, I believe, an intern or a writer or something who they specifically brought onto the show because she was so good. And I remember when she came on that
Yeah.
season, I was just like, this lady's not, I mean, what is she doing? She's not that funny because they hadn't
Yeah.
figured out what
What
her
to-
thing was yet. But like 2 episodes in, I was like, this
This is
I mean, she
woman is
essentially
amazing.
is playing the same character in Kimmy Schmidt.
Kind of, yeah. Like, that is a bit of her.
But she's great at it. She's
Exactly,
so
it's
good
like
at it.
it's like Jack McBrayer in 30
Yeah,
Rock, right?
exactly.
Like he's so good at doing that you're
That-
like, you have to
you
do
have
that.
to
do
just
that,
be
yeah.
Kenneth.
Yeah, you have to be Kenneth.
Yeah. Oh man, 30
Cool.
Rock.
They just give us one.
What do I like?
I mean, it doesn't have to be your favorite. I said 30
Yeah.
Rock. I'd have to like think about this for a couple of months before I give you like a definitive list. But
Yeah, no,
I
it's
just really
true.
like 30 Rock.
I think I will put. I mean, I've already spoken about Seinfeld. I really love that show.
Seinfeld.
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 But I thought New Girl was great, man. I really liked it. I thought it was. It was fresh at the time when it came out, and I think the characters are really,
I
really
will
funny.
say,
Yeah.
New Girl and Happy Endings basically started
But
airing
it's-
at the same time.
And they have the same
did
guy
they?
in it.
Oh.
Yeah.
They have, so Damon Wayans Jr.
Yes.
went on to do Happy Endings,
Yeah.
and that's why he left. And Winston,
Yeah.
who's played by
Not Philmar.
Philip Lamorris or something like that.
Yeah.
Right?
Something, yeah.
I
Lamorris,
forget his name, but yeah, basically that's why he had to come on, and
He
instead
replaced that role. Yeah.
yes, and eventually about two
He
and a
didn't
half.
replace it. They created a new character for him.
They
but
created
yes,
a new
it
character.
effectively became the same. Yeah.
Yes.
He was.
They were
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh,
Fill
we
that role.
shot one black person.
No, but it was quite a diverse show.
And it was a
cool.
very different character. Like, Coach was a very different
Dude,
character
and he
from
finds his
Winston.
own thing few seasons down
He
the line.
grows into it,
It's
yes.
so good. But
He came back, and Damon Wayans Jr. is like so freaking good. He
he's
might be one of the
amazing.
most talented performers of
the
comedy
best
in
thing
general.
All the
about
Wayans brothers
New
are
Girl,
awesome, man.
and
Yeah.
this is a bit of a it's not. But one of my favorite things about New Girl, which is associated with another sitcom that I really love, which is Brooklyn Nine-Nine, is that
Now it's too late. You did your five.
Okay, so
You missed it.
so there's a
missed it.
crossover episode between New Girl and Brooklyn Nine-Nine,
Yes.
which happens.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And the characters, and it's just weird because Damon Wayans plays a different character in Brooklyn
Yeah.
Nine-Nine, and he plays a different character. He plays Coach in this.
Yeah.
And basically,
Oh,
Jake Peralta.
I remember Damon Wayans coming on Brooklyn Nine-Nine. So he came as coach?
No,
No,
he's
he
not.
didn't.
He's not there
He's
on
just a
that. He's not
character.
there
Yes,
in this
okay.
crossover. But Jake Peralta meets Zoe's character,
Oh,
and it's just like this whole
Jess.
Jess, yeah, and this whole shenanigan thing, which is great. I mean, like my favorite, yeah, Brooklyn Nine-Nine is solid, and
Dude, how can I
it's one
forget
of the best
that?
shows.
Such
yeah.
This,
freaking
the
good
the
show,
Mike
man.
Shaw Dan
Gore
Gore
verse,
is
so good.
spectacular. Which is, so let's close on this note. I think we're in a great time for classic network sitcoms again, because Brooklyn Nine-Nine is great.
Yeah.
The Good Place might be one of the best sitcoms ever,
Yeah,
and it's
solid.
airing
I
currently.
So good.
my mind is blown by that show.
So good.
I
knew you would love it.
I
Right?
love
It's
the
such
show.
a Kunal Rao show.
And I was so surprised by
But
it.
doctor, I am the Good Place.
For me, the thing with The Good Place is I'll tell you when it sealed the deal. Season 2, episode 1. I was like, what can you do at the end of
After
season 1
season-
to
yeah.
make it?
One.
And they freaking nailed
and
it.
then
I'm
they
like,
changed
this
it completely.
is insane.
Which reminds me of another, and this is my third or fourth pick, which is Community, which is like in the second season of Community. I think they just decided, like, okay, cool, this is not going to be a show just about these shenanigans of these sick, but we'll make a genre for every single episode that
Yeah.
we do. And it's been directed
Yeah.
by, like, the
Russos.
the Russos who made Endgame and things like that. Yes, that's right, Endgame. Anyway, yeah, so that
What is
show,
that? What is
that
Endgame?
show, do you hate that too also, Kunal?
What, Community? Community?
Endgame.
It was alright.
Yeah, that's all right. That's good.
I really enjoyed it. It might be the most
It's alright.
stacked show ever. That
Yeah.
show is literally
So
wall
good.
to wall full of Oscar winners at this point.
And and the thing is, I think I love it also because I mean, even though Dan Harmon is a questionable fellow, I just think he's a genius when it comes
He's
to
a
like.
very smart guy who's
He's like
he's a weirdo as well.
Yeah, he's a weirdo, but he's done some stuff with the format which is really fresh and interesting.
Yeah.
And he's made his own like little formula of how he constructs his shows. It's really, really great. And
The season where they kicked Dan Harmon out
Yeah.
is so much more noticeably weaker.
Yes.
It's astonishing.
like when Amy Sherman Palladino leaves Gilmore Girls in season 7.
You can tell because these are shows that are so
Oh, she
dependent
hasn't
on
seen
their
7, is it?
Yeah, the
on
last
their,
season.
creator.
So that's why she's never even seen it.
Yeah.
But that's the season where they get together. Guys, Luke and Lorelai, what are you
Well,
doing?
it was fan fiction at that point.
Yo.
essentially.
It
Yeah,
was,
that's-
they
that-
gave me what
I
I
do
wanted.
feel that.
Sometimes
I do feel that.
it's like what Batman says. Sometimes people need to have their faith rewarded, all right? That's what it's about. Show me Luke and Lorelai together. And you know how this is the best way. All Luke says at the end of the show is just like, I just want to see you happy. Boom! Flippin' amazing. Best show. One of my favorite sitcoms. It's not really a sitcom.
It's not a
though.
sitcom.
I do
Was
like
it-
Gilmore Girls.
Yeah,
I
it's a great
really
show, but it's
You
not
should
a
come for a Halloween
sitcom,
party.
innit?
What?
You should come for a Halloween
Of
party.
course I am coming. What's I
You're
got to do with
coming for
Gilmore
our Halloween party, yes.
Girls? What's I got to do with Gilmore Girls?
Well, we'll find out, won't we?
We're playing TV show
it.
themes
Damn
on
it.
the
Oh, yeah,
camera.
you just
I mean, you'd put it together eventually anyway. Okay, cool. Fine, let's go
Can you
out
play
on...
the title track of Daredevil?
I made it. I once recreated the theme on my iPad.
Let's do it.
It was amazing.
I'll sing the lyrics.
Yeah.
Cool. So, Halloween party. Why are you clapping, Kunal?
Standing ovation for that
so
amazing
excited.
joke.
He's so excited.
Okay, fine. More jokes like that on Kunal Rao special.
18th October. Wait, it's already out now. It's out now on Amazon Prime.
We're just remembering the day it came out.
We're just remembering the day.
What do we have to do?
Welcome to Water Play, you guys. This is the favorite sports podcast of several sports persons such as myself, Dudeja and Mikhail, who also happen to be the hosts.
Yes, you should definitely listen to our podcast for our take and quite a uninformed but hilarious take on sports every week. We give out awards, we discuss what happened in the world of sports, and
we take breaks as well.
We come up with jingles and sound effects on the go. So you should definitely give us an example of a sound effect, Dudeja.
Bolo Matthew Vade.
Yeah, tune in for some of that, bro. You can catch us on the IVM network every Wednesday on the go. On the Wednesday, in the Wednesday. Yeah, Wednesday, Water Player. Water Player W, Wednesday W.
Wow. Oh, Wednesday.
Wednesday to Wednesday, Vade player, Matthew Vade.
Sachin Tendulkar, Virat Kohli, Don Bradman, and now Cyrus Brocha. Okay, probably not in the right company. I mean, Don Bradman is Australian. But it's called Cyrus Says, a wonderful show about everything. Find the show on the IVM Podcast app, ivmpodcast.com, or wherever you listen to podcasts.